welcome back to this week's solution. So we're talking all about aggregates and calculations, and when we left our data set, we'd got to this stage where we had our brand and bike types and some metrics associated by brand and by bike type. Now we want to calculate some different metrics. We want to know by store and by brand what the average days to ship are, our total quantity sold, and our total order value. So we're kind of moving the goalposts a bit. We don't have our information anymore in this data set about when an order was placed and when an order was shipped. So, that's interesting. How am I going to get that information out? Basically, what we want to do is we want to go back to before we aggregated and look at our data set. Yep, I can see I've got my order date and my shipping date in there. So I'm going to add on a clean step, make sure that it's just to the left, not sort of in the middle of this connecting bar. And I'm going to add in a clean step there instead. So we're branching off this time to make our second output. So to calculate that days to ship field, I'm going to create a calculator field. I'm just going to zoom in and I'm going to call that days to ship. And I'm going to use a date diff calculation. So that's the third one down when I've started typing date in there. And over on the right here, we have some useful information about how the date diff calculation is configured. So for our date part, we're going to be using day because we want to know how many days there are between these two dates. And then our start date will be our order date and our end date will be our shipping date because we want to know how many days are between our order date and our shipping date. So we write the word day in inverted commas. Not days, not day with a capital D. It has to be very specific in Tableau that it is lowercase day, just in case you've had any issues with that. And then we're going to use the order date and the shipping date. And our calculation is valid, and we hit save, and we'll go and see that that field has now been brought in. We kind of take a look to eyeball it. Okay, this order date was mid-May. It got shipped at the start of June. 17 days to ship. That sounds about right. Lovely. So now what I was saying is that our requirement is that we need to know, based on each store and each brand, what is our average days to ship, our total quantity sold, and our total order value. So that's how we know that, again, we're going to be using an aggregate step here because it's for each brand and store. So we're going to bring in our brand into our group fields, and we're going to bring in our store to our group fields. Then, because we want to know the average day to ship, then we could either drag this over here like this and then change it to be average, or we could have changed it on the left before we dragged it over. Either way, it's your choice really. Then we're going to bring over our quantity and we're going to bring over our order value. So let's just rename some of these fields. Our order value is now going to become our total order value. Our days to ship is now going to be our average days to ship. And our quantity is going to become our total quantity sold, so that we're in line with the output on the challenge website. So let's take a look at that data now that we've aggregated it. Let's just reorder some things. We're going to have our store and our brand over on the left as our dimensions, and then we're going to take a look at our measures there. So we have a similar issue with our average days to ship looking a bit, really long decimal places afterwards. If we're going straight to Tableau, I wouldn't really worry about that. But seeing as maybe we're just sending this 25-row table to a stakeholder, we probably want to make it look a little bit neater. So let's just create a calculator field. We don't want actually to be using the store name there. I'm going to zoom in on it, and for our average days to ship, again we're using this trick where we rename our calculator field as an existing field name so that it just overwrites that field. So we're rounding it for our average days to ship to 1 decimal place. And we're hitting save on that, zooming out, and you can see that it hasn't changed the order. It's just updated that average days to ship field to be nice and kind of neater. And then finally, all we do for our output 2 would be to add an output step. Again, we're going to make it a CSV. I'm happy to save it as output 2, but I'd rather it was saved in my downloads. And then I just run that flow to create that table. And that's it for week 2 of 2021 Preppin data. I hope that that was useful and that you feel more comfortable using aggregations and calculations now. Thanks for watching.